Good morning.
Good morning.
and welcome to the United Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Our minister is Reverend Bob Janis-Dillon, over there. I am Kathy Atwell, the worship assistant for this morning. It's my first time, big fan. We are excited to have attendees both in person in the sanctuary as well as virtually via Zoom. A big welcome to everyone. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigration Defense Network. We are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. Community circles connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 9 circles in different areas who meet monthly in person and online through Zoom. If you would like to get in touch with the circle in your area, please contact the office administrator. If you would like to contact someone at UU Catskills, for those attending online, a contact list is shown on your screen. You can visit our website, uucatskills.org, to find contact information, also to be added to the mailing list and to find the latest newsletter. If you are a visitor online and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom. We encourage you to read our March newsletter that members and others on our distribution list receive by email. It is also found on our website. There you will find newsworthy items on the happenings of our UU community and also upcoming events for the month. Weekly updates are also sent by email, and there you will find events for the upcoming week. These are the announcements for this morning. This Tuesday, March 8th, join the Climate Action Team at 3 p.m. at the Academy Green in Kingston to demand $15 billion to fund climate jobs and justice in New York State's budget. On Wednesday, March 9th, at 6 p.m., attend the Recycle Right webinar via Zoom with Angela Brandt from Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. And the details are in the newsletter. Also, this afternoon at 2 p.m., there will be a prayer service for peace at St. John the Baptist Ukrainian Catholic Church, located between Hunter and Lexington on Route 23A. I looked up this morning, it looks like about an hour's drive. This is a beautiful church and complex financed by Ukrainian post-World War II refugees and immigrants who realized the need for a tangible expression of their heritage. In the context of Soviet Union control of their country at the time, they were constantly vigilant in the preservation of Ukrainian culture. Completed in 1962, the church is of solid timber using the block work or log building technique of the Ukrainian Carpathian Mountain Highlanders. Next Sunday, March 13th, we will have a guest, Jackie Harding, a Sufri Sheriga Hasina, speaking on the unveiling of the true self. I struggled with that name all week. Thanks to everyone who is assisting with today's service. Our hybrid services are made possible by our technical team, Bruce Wildy, who is here in the sanctuary, provides for the live streaming from the pulpit. Our Zoom host this week is Tom Hackett, and our usher is Kristen Shara. After the service, those who attend via Zoom, please stay for our breakout rooms via a virtual coffee break. For our prelude this morning, Bill Toole will perform Rainbow Connections by Paul William and Kenneth Asher, arranged by James Stevens.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. So good to be with you. Welcome, one and all. Thank you for coming, lovers and dreamers, little green frogs. It's a Muppet song. If you don't get that reference, it's such a good. It's a hard time in the world, and it's such a good time to be together. So wherever you join us from this morning, I know we have some first-time visitors here and probably online as well. Welcome to this beloved community that we make together here in this hour. It's good to be together. We light our chalice with these words by Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love. Ignite the light of peace and feed the flame of justice. I invite us to read together the words of our unison affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy, in the mystery and miracle, in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our service today is on the subject of hope, which was suggested to me by a member, and I thought it was an excellent suggestion, and I thought, what am I going to say about hope on a week like this? But Amanda Gorman, who's an amazing poet, you may know, has some words to start us off today. So this is called augury, which means fortune-telling. Augury, or the birds. In ancient Rome, augurs were official diviners. their darting eyes interpreting omens and the ink stain of birds across the sky. Their job was not to prophesy the future, but to determine if their new named gods approved of an action before it began. The only way to correctly predict the future is to pave it, is to brave it. The breakage is where we begin. The rupture is for remembering. That is to say, here is where we hold our hurt. We inaugurate our dreams with the injury. We consecrate at the cut. Under a suture of sun, we sense ourselves stir, slowly, sweetly, as if for the first time. This nearly tore us apart. Yes, indeed, it tears us to start. Words by Amanda Gorman from her collection, Call Us What We Carry. Let us sing together a song of hope. It's number 346 in your gray hymnals, these hymnals. Come sing a song with me. 346. So, most Sundays we have a heart story, a story for all of us, the child in us and all of us, and we introduce it with the Wonder Box, which is, it reminds us of the value of wonder, that we wonder at our world and that the world is full of wonders. And this story is one some of you will already know, and some of the best stories are the ones we hear again and again. Pandora's Box. Familiar with Pandora's Box? Now, Pandora was the first woman, and so was Eve. You can figure all that out later. But Pandora, there was Prometheus who helped all of humankind, and he helped by bringing fire, and this annoyed Zeus, the lord of all the gods, because Zeus was upset that the fire was given to human beings. Who knows why? But and for some reason, Zeus decided to take it out on Pandora. So he gave her this box on Pandora's wedding, and you know what happened with Eve and the apple, and it was going to be opened, right? So Pandora had this box. Are you all ready for this? I don't know. Should I? No, we've got to do the story, right? We've got to do the story. So Pandora, does anybody want to open, do the honors? Is it me? It's me. I'll do this one. So Pandora opened the box, and out of the box came monsters of all description. I'm going to tie that later on. Monsters of all description. There was pestilence and plague and war and hatred and enmity and horrors that we don't even know the name for yet, and ecological destruction and inhumanity to one another and rampant materialism and all of these evils and racism. And Pandora looked in horror as these monsters came out of the box one by one. And that was it. She was about to put the box away. But then there was one thing left in the box. There was one little stone that did not fly away. And that stone, I don't know if you can read it, read hope. And there was still hope that clung to that box, that stayed in there. And she kept that hope with her. And that hope is still in the box and still with Pandora, if you can make sense of that. And it's still right there, even as all the monsters are in the world and we try to put them back in the box, and maybe we can and maybe we can't. But we know that hope is still very much there. So we'll say more about that later. But that is the story of Pandora's box. And now we have a reading from one of my favorite mystics and theologians. This is from Mystical Hope by the mystic Cynthia Bourgeault, who writes about hope. So this is a reading on hope. That'll be read by Catherine. Thank you.
Tread among all these monsters here. Hope's home is the innermost point in us and in all things. It is the quality of aliveness. It does not come at the end as the feeling that results from a happy outcome. Rather, it lies at the beginning as a pulse of truth that sends us forth. When our innermost being is attuned to this pulse, it will send us forth in hope, regardless of the physical circumstances of our lives. Hope fills us with the strength to stay present, to abide in the flow of mercy, no matter what outer storms assail us. It is entered always and only through surrender. That is through the willingness to let go of everything we are presently clinging to. And yet when we enter it, it enters us and fills us with its own life, a quiet strength beyond anything we have ever known.
I'm aware that I've left all the monsters out of the box, and I don't know if I kind of like it in a way, but I don't know if it's distracting. People okay? You can step on them, yeah, and tidy them up as well. So we're entering into a time of meditation, and I'd like to kind of riff a little bit on Pandora's box, because we know that these terrors and these monsters are out in the world, and Cynthia Bourgeault's reading as well. We have to kind of surrender to what is. We know that what is, and we know that there are some things to be worried about in the world. The climate report, we'll do joys and sorrows first, speaking of things. So we'll share our own. What we do as a tradition here in this time of meditation and contemplation is we share the sorrows of our life, acknowledging that they're there and acknowledging that this is a part of life, but also sharing the celebrations and the joys and the things and the triumphs and the struggles. So if anyone has a joy or sorrow to share, what we'll do is anyone here, if you don't mind speaking it aloud, we'll pass you the microphone. Ask that we be brief because there are quite a few of us. And then also if anybody is watching on Zoom, if you can put it in the chat, we'll read that aloud if that's all right. So joys and sorrows for the good of this community.
So I'm Bill, and my wife Betsy is home with a bad back that may be a fractured vertebrae. It's a compression fracture, and I guess those heal, and she has an MRI on Friday to see what's really going on, and after that, maybe we'll have some relief. So thanks for your thoughts.
We hold Betsy in our prayers for healing and relief.
Okay. Excuse me, don't reach over you.
My joy is we're back face to face.
Joy to be back face to face and in a variety of forms.
So I'd like to put a stone of hope into the bowl. My brother, as you all know, is going through mantle cell lymphoma and going through his second round of very radical treatment at the moment. This week is the week that they take MRIs, and it will determine whether the CAR T treatment has actually taken effect. And if it has, that probably means that he is on the road to remission. And if not, he may have to go back through it, which would really be horrible. So keep him in your prayers. They have a great community, and they believe in the power of prayer and good wishes from everyone.
And I'll be keeping
His name is Jeff.
We'll be keeping Jeff, your brother Mark, in our thoughts, especially this week, and prayers for a good result.
Thank you. My name is Judith, and yesterday, in 2 phone calls with each of my sons, one's in New York City, the other one's in California, each of their partners are facing some difficult situations right now, and they're strong people, but everybody needs a little help sometime. David and Gerard, Peter and Fernando.
For David and Gerard, Peter and Fernando, your family, and holding them in prayer through difficult times.
Hi, I'm Bobby. My daughter, who has been on and off, mostly on, has been doing so well for the last 3 years. And now she's got physical problems that have been very painful and difficult, and it seems as though the mental problems are taking over again. So it's kind of hard.
For your daughter, and for physical and emotional and mental peace, and for strength through this hard time.
Hi, my name's Joanne. For the ultimate in mediocrity and minor detail, I'll be leaving for a couple of weeks, and I'm seeking someone who can babysit my plants.
Sending out a
I
prayer
love
to the
my
universe
plants.
to babysit your plants. Hope we.
My gardenias.
Hi, I'm Josh, and this is my first time here. I'm an activist attorney, and I've been one for about 25 years. And I've been working in the family courts for about a year, and it's very difficult, and I'm starting to feel like, a lot of stress on my own self and my own limitations, and I kind of have hope here that, this community can give me the energy that I need and the hope that I need to, do the things. I'm working on opposing an 1,100 megawatt power plant in Copake, and, I just feel right now like I'm, overburdened and overwhelmed, and I really feel like this community can give me some hope and energy that I need to do the things that I'm trying to do. So thank you all very much.
May it be so, Josh. Welcome, and thank you for your work on behalf of the world. Are there any in the from online? I wasn't sure. Okay. No. Well, if we'll put one more stone in to represent the joys and sorrows that may be on our collective hearts this hour, and whether they're spoken or unspoken, are part of this occasion and part of the care that we engage in together here today. So I invite you to ground yourself where you are, wherever you are, And breathe in and breathe out. And as I say, just acknowledge the things that are going wrong in our world. There's no putting them back in the box as much as we might seek to control them. Our hearts go out to the people of Ukraine. We think of our planet as the environmental report gives more ominous news. We hold all these things, and you may have personal concerns and worries, things that have happened, that are deep sorrows, and things that might happen, but we can't control. So just allow them to acknowledge them and then just let them fly off. You don't need to keep them too close, perhaps. And then return to your breath, which is with us as long as we live. No matter what happens to us, we can return to that breath, breathing in and breathing out, that peace within. Breathing in and breathing out. And we might find in that breath that there is something within. Might not know what it is at first. It might be a sense of assurance, a sense of hope. It might be a fierce determination to keep going even when so much has gone awry. It might be a sense of unexpected peace. But there is something down deep in that place that is deeply you, but also shared with the all, shared with the universe. There is something we can find between our breaths, even when all the monsters are out of the box. There is something that clings deep down. And our task as spiritual, emotional, religious people, however we approach it, is to find that something. I invite us, we'll sing the meditative hymn. It's number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. And then we'll have a minute or two of silence after the hymn. There's something about silence after music which just feels so grounding. As we search for that something, that hope that we share. Ground ourselves in the silence and in the assurance that there is more peace, joy, hope, and love in our world and in ourselves. May peace and health and happiness and wisdom be with us, be with all of us. Amen.
Our half-plate donation today will be shared with Seed Song Farms Low Income and Immigrant Camper Fund. This program enables children from low-income and immigrant families to attend the year-round farm camp and day programs. $3,500 will send a child to camp for the whole summer. Seed Song Farm is a small farm in Kingston that provides community-supported agriculture, educational programs, on-site farm store, and year-long festivities. For our online viewers, you can give 3 ways, as shown on your screen: at our website, by texting the number given, or by mailing your check to our address in Kingston. In the sanctuary, baskets will be passed. The offertory is Look to the Rainbow by Burton Lane, performed by Bill Toole.
You gotta give them hope. You gotta give them hope. Do you remember that line? It was delivered by the legendary politician, civil rights advocate, gay rights advocate, Harvey Milk, on the steps of San Francisco City Hall about a year before he was assassinated. Harvey Milk gave a speech. At the time, he was hoping for more gay representation in politics, and he talked about hope. He said, "I can't forget the looks on the faces of people who have lost hope, be they gay, be they seniors, be they blacks for looking for an almost impossible job, be they Latinos looking to explain their problems and aspirations in a tongue that's foreign to them. I walked among the angry and frustrated night after night, and I looked at their faces. And in San Francisco, 3 days before Gay Pride Day, a person was killed just because he was gay. And that night, I walked among the sad and the frustrated at City Hall in San Francisco. And later that night, as they lit candles on Castro Street and stood in silence, reaching out for some symbolic thing that would give them hope. These were strong people, whose faces I knew from the shop, the streets, meetings, and people who I never saw before, but I knew. They were strong, but even they needed hope. The only thing they have to look forward to is hope, and you have to give them hope. Hope for a better world. Hope for a better tomorrow. Hope for a better place to come to if the pressures at home are too great. Hope that all will be all right. But Harvey, and I hear you, you got to give them hope, I hear you, but Harvey, will everything be all right? And they took your life. This week they shelled a nuclear reactor in the Ukraine. A nuclear reactor. Everyone's worst nightmare. And the report came out on the future of the world, the environmental report, and it's looking bleak. We faced an awful 2-year pandemic, and now the report for the future says the worst is still yet to come, and the world is currently at war. Give them hope? What hope do any of us possibly have to give them, to give each other? We come from a spiritual tradition here that refused to give up hope. We, Unitarians and Universalists, have been the progress people. We believed that tomorrow could be better than today. In the 19th century, 20th century, were the years of the workplace slums of slavery, of the subjugation of women. And we believed it didn't have to be that way. And we were right. Working conditions were improved. Slavery was outlawed. Equal rights fought for year after year of incremental, sometimes tenuous gains, but continual. There was nothing written in stone that the abject poor had to stay abject poor, while the rich stayed rich. And if it was written in stone, those stones could be knocked over. In the 19th century was an optimistic age. Onward and upward forever. That was their slogan, in spite of the Civil War and incredible horrors. And then came the 20th century. 2 world wars, a global flu pandemic, and the Holocaust. Second half, the Cold War and Silent Spring. Onward and upward forever has rung a bit hollow at times. Maybe we can still improve humanity. We all know when it comes to our collective treatment of the poor, our treatment of other cultures and other nations, our endemic racism and patriarchy, there is so much to be improved. And it can be. And yet environmentalism has caused us to think about our limits as well, to be humble as a species. Maybe there are limits to what humanity can achieve on this earth. And so what and whither hope? I've learned that hope can take a different shape in different times. I think we all learn that perhaps as we grow older. Not that hope and hopelessness necessarily affects every age group just differently. When you're 25, life can seem totally hopeless. It's a terrible thing being 25 years old and not being sure you have a future. for whatever reason. But still, you hope. You hope that you can put everything together, get your life back on track. And if you are 25 or 35 or 45 and listening to this today, us oldies will tell you, and there are some here even older than me, us oldies will tell you, you can get your life back on shape. You can. Give it time. There are unexpected blessings awaiting you. I can't tell you what they are because it's your life, not mine. But life has a lot of twists and turns. Just know that if you can hang in there through this incredibly difficult time, if you are going through an incredibly difficult time, your story is not fully written yet. And you're going to want to know what the next chapters are. Now, when you're 75, hope takes on a different shape, I think. And Cynthia Bourgeois writes about this in her book, Mystical Hope. There are still chapters to be written, sure. You can train for a marathon if you want to at 75, some of us, but you're not going to run it quite as fast as you did when you're 25. You can start a new interest, a new hobby, but probably not a brand new career. You start looking at your grandchildren perhaps a little more and yourself a little less. It's actually, and I've been told this by many, I know it's different for everybody, but it's not necessarily always such a bad thing, the loss of youthful idealism and hope. For some, it's kind of peaceful. A new spiritual awareness, kind of being able to step off the rat race a little bit, not constantly looking forward, trying to make ends meet, trying to improve our own lives. And at 70 or 80 or 90 something, you're finally able to just be where you are and be who you are. Sometimes the release of a certain kind of craving for endless hope can be a kind of liberation. But I also hear from some of you, this can be a terrible, there's this terrible combination that sometimes happens, like happened in the last couple of weeks. This terrible combination of both being a bit older and having a lot of life behind us, and also having calamitous world events. So many of you have been through wars already in so many ways. You don't need reminding what a war is like. And yet here we are again, a terrible war raging in the Ukraine. It's traumatic and depressing, and frustrating and maddening and sad. We got to give you hope, right? I don't know how all this turns out. I don't. I think about the future all the time. I can talk about the possibilities at length. And you know what? I don't know. I'm out of ideas. What I've got is Harvey Milk standing on the steps of City Hall before he was assassinated. I feel like I owe him something. What I've got is Fannie Lou Hamer on the march, Martin Luther King, Olympia Brown speaking up, Margaret Fuller fighting for the life of the world, Gandhi and John Brown, Norbert Chopik and Anne Frank writing about the best of humanity at the gates of the concentration camp. I feel like I owe them something. And oh yeah, Volodymyr Zelensky, holed up somewhere in Kiev, waiting for whatever comes next. And as he waits, not waiting, believing now in a better tomorrow for his country. I've learned in my life that hope takes on many different forms. You may not be confident that tomorrow will take on a brilliant outcome. You may be beset by despair, and that's fair enough, that happens. But even so, I think you've got to reach into that bag, that Pandora's box. After all the monsters have been loosed out into our world, you got to reach into that bag and pull out something. Because there's always something there. There is, I swear to you there is. And if you haven't found it yet, you just got to keep looking. Maybe it's courage. You don't have to be sure of the final result to have courage. Zelensky teaches us that. You just need to feel that determination in your bones, and hope can take the form of courage. Maybe it's kindness. And you can be determined to be kind, even if you have no idea what's coming tomorrow. Kindness doesn't care. And hope can take the form of kindness. Kindness shares your last meal in the bomb shelter and speaks louder than any written declaration of hope ever could. Kindness takes the form of hope. It says, I choose to believe. I choose to believe in something larger than this despair. I choose to believe in fellow women and men. I choose kindness. I actually learned that perhaps most powerfully in my own life at the refugee camp in Samos. I'd gone there for a week to find out how I could help as the war in Syria raged. Samos was an island, as you may know, landed on, and still to this day landed on, by rubber dinghies that had crossed the mile of water between Turkey and Europe, the Michael Strait. And the people there were waiting to be processed as they landed in Europe, sometimes for weeks or months. They were refugees from the war in Syria and other wars too. There were people from Afghanistan, Africa, Iraq. As you might expect, they were tired, exhausted, hopeless sometimes, cranky, many of them upset at life, having gone through years and years of extreme trauma and poverty. And even so, quite a few of them expressed their gratitude to us. Often this happened, a little thank you, or even a how can we help? How can we pitch in? We want to contribute. How can we help you? It made us a little embarrassed, to be honest, to receive such kindness from people who had so little. We had gone there as a small interfaith group with Muslims, non-religious. There was a Jewish person, a couple of Unitarians. And we chatted about religion a little bit in the evenings over pizza in the cafe. But mostly we just sorted through mountains of clothing, people's donations, and then passed them out so people at least had something, new clothes to wear, sweater for the cold, passed out toothbrushes. There wasn't much we could really do, and we knew it. The refugees would sometimes ask us, how long? When will we be processed? When can we get on with our lives? And we just had to shrug our shoulders helplessly or try to come up with whatever language among us to say that it wasn't up to us. All that we could do is treat them like a human being, and we know we owed them that much and more. And the people of Samos, this Greek island, I have to say, were extraordinary. These were not rich people, and many of them shared pretty much everything they have. It wasn't perfect. There was prejudice at places, but there was great and extravagant kindness, even when nobody knew how this was going to be resolved, and we still don't know how the world's refugee crisis is resolved. Certainly not well yet, but there has been extravagant kindness along the way. And when I learned that kindness, most of all, there was a big storm the last night I was there, and was only there for a few days, a week. A nearly hurricane-force winds, and we had this giant 50-foot UN tent. I believe it was UN, or maybe it was Red Cross. I think it was Red Cross, actually. And the tent, very big poles, and it was in 65, 70-mile-an-hour winds. It was worried that it was going to be falling over. And it was shifting, and so all of us were very worried, just looking up. And there was, we tried to buttress it as best we can, but we didn't have a clue of what to do, and we were all a bit frantic. And so somebody had the idea of getting soup for everyone, which isn't necessarily what you need in a hurricane, but it's something, right? It was all. So we went in, and we had prepared big pots of halal soup, and we got all this soup in these tiny little styrofoam cups. I mean, nothing feels more pathetic than being in the middle of almost a hurricane with a little styrofoam cup of soup. But that's what we had, and it was warm, which was something, right? Because it was raining down too. And so we went and we passed out these cups, and sure enough, other people amongst the refugees, others of us, said, how can we help? And so we were all trying to come up with a delivery line while people were just standing around, looking up, looking worried, looking for shelter. And we were passing out this soup, maybe a little bit of bread, and just making the most of this moment. And while we were there, everyone drenched and everyone scared. I knew at that moment that this was the closest I'd ever get to beloved community or the kingdom of heaven or whatever you want to call it. It was right there. This was the kindness. And we didn't know if the tent did survive the night as it happened. It was even, I believe, a rainbow the next day. But we weren't sure at the time. But I knew in my body that that was what it was about. I didn't have hope. I didn't know that what was going to happen in the next day. All I had was, I had something. We had that soup to share and some incredibly inspirational people who were willing to make the soup and bring it and pass it around. And that's what we did. It's not ours to know all the answers, try as we might. It's not ours to predict the future. We just get out there, find out what you have, and share it. Some of you know the Emily Dickinson poem, and I think I would be remiss and thrown out of the Guild of Preachers if I didn't mention it once in a sermon on hope. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. I can't tell you, friends, what's going to happen tomorrow. I wish I could stand here and tell you that you will be safe, that you will be successful, that you will meet the challenges of the day, that we will meet the challenges of our day, and they are considerable, that everyone will live happily ever after. I wish I could say that, but you aren't children. What I can tell you is that hope will keep singing, even if it takes a shape that you don't recognize, even if it's in the midst of despair. What I can tell you is reach into that bag, reach down deep. There's something in there. Find whatever shred of kindness, of resilience, of determination that you have tucked away. Don't hide it under a bushel, because the world needs it right now. I need it. He needs it. We need it badly. Reach down deep and share whatever you find there, even if it's a cup of soup in a styrofoam cup. You got to give him hope, right? His name was Harvey Milk, and he was there to recruit you, and he's still here to recruit you. You got to give him hope. Reach down deep. Share what you have. There's something there. Share it. And somehow, it will be all right. It will. I don't know if that means happily ever after, but it means hope is there singing, and it's going to keep singing, and it'll be there. May it be so. Amen. Let's sing together our closing hymn, a hymn of hope. Hymn number, it's in your teal hymnals. Teal number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. Friends, the future begins today. I know it doesn't feel like it. We're held back by so much challenge in a world that's much bigger than any one of us. And yet there's a flame burning in our hearts, a flame of determination, a flame of kindness, a fierce will that tomorrow can be a place of goodness and charity and justice and love. Let's be true to that flame, and we will slowly, painstakingly, liberatingly create the future. Let's be there for one another, give one another hope as we are. May hope take the shape of kindness and courage and determination and love. May it be so. Amen. We extinguish our chalice, as we do each week, with these words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. You I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Thank you so much for coming. If you don't have to dash off, I hope you share a little bit of hope and brightness with one another, either here in our building or in our breakout rooms, which will happen on Zoom immediately after this service. Hope be with you, peace be with you. It's so good to be together. Blessed be.